Well, folks, we got delayed a little bit there, but we are back with episode 36 of the Rick Chappell podcast. Seems like just yesterday I was blabbing to myself in a different place. But what's been going down? How you been? I know we missed a week or kind of two, but not really. This would have been the week I missed, and we're just a couple hours late if all goes to plan on this upload. So, Sundays are our day. Just every once in a while, life happens. But, anyways, let's get to the list. I wrote some stuff down. I'm not sure if the podcasts are going to be a half hour or an hour for this sort of phase with intros, outros, and living rooms and whatnot. But, hey, progress. First thing up, we were late. I'm sorry about that. And if you hear noise, I just heard my cat play with something. I never know what. She's in a mood lately just to be a nightmare. Little Kevin is like 3 years old now, and she has discovered a newfound love for guitar picks, which I find very confusing because they're not new. These have been in piles all over the apartment, longer than she's been in this apartment. So, what caused her suddenly to decide they're toys? I'll never know. But in the morning now, she brings me them in her mouth, which is really a great way for me to find out it's time for me to wake up and start playing guitar. Oh, kittens. The other thing, I am blabbing hopefully a little slower than the usual million miles a minute thing. But I have become overly dependent on coffee this past month. I got a new machine here at home. Not a fancy one, just a cheap drip, machine. And I started making drip coffee at home, and it's so easy, and it's so delicious, and it's so dangerous. So that's been a time. I actually recently switched to decaf just on the hopes that I won't have a heart attack, Because, 3 pots a day is, I think, what put Dave Grohl in the slammer there that one time. Or not the slammer, in the hospital. No, the door still slams. I also missed the live stream song rating thing this Tuesday, which we rarely miss those. The reason we missed it, though, is a good one. I can record music any day I want because this is my studio. But, the only thing that I need to record, let's say, vocals, is silence. I can't have somebody sitting next to me making a whole bunch of noise if I'm singing. And on Tuesday, I had my downstairs neighbor replacing their flooring. So the building was shaking a bit throughout the day, and they gave everybody notice. They were super sweet. Things got to get done. But that made it not quite recording studio live stream friendly Tuesday at noon. But they're all done, so this week we will be back with that. 2 weeks ago, I wrote a super brutal, heavy song, and maybe the next one will be brutal and heavy. Maybe it won't. We literally never know. That's the fun of the live stream. And then they're going to stay on Tuesdays. They might be noon or 1. I'm kind of pushing them a little bit later in the day because it seems to perform a little better, but it's happening on Tuesday, and then you'll see the cut afterwards too. I've also got a new video coming out for you guys tomorrow, new kind of series. So Sundays we're here, Tuesdays we're there, and Mondays, smack dab in between, I'll be posting the song from the previous week kind of thing. So instead of having to search all the way to the end of the 4 or 5 hour video, what have you, Kevin is playing with a key or something. I can hear jingles. Instead of searching to the end of the 5 hour video, you can just go look at that video. And the songs still may get re-recorded and released in the future or whatever. There's a couple songs actually in the first 5 or 6 of the Song in a Day live streams. I kept 2 or 3 of them. And they're on the next record. And they've been, rewrote some vocals and restructured some stuff and kept working beyond the 4 hours, that's on camera. But it'll be cool for you to hear the demo version. That was the initial, I think, idea that presented itself that day. And then what you can do if you sit on an idea for a little while and kind of let it gestate and try to turn it into the most it can be, So, we're seeing about that. One of the songs has been rewritten a million times. I'm just trying to find the lyrics for it now. I've got the structure, I've got everything down the way I want it. I just haven't quite nailed the lyrics. Got a new title, though, and I got a new theme, so I think it's coming together. those will be on Mondays. And then the other kinds of videos I'm thinking of doing won't be on YouTube, I think. Or famous last words, but they might be over on Twitch, they might be on YouTube. I haven't figured out that part yet. But I do want to start doing some live streaming of video games. I'm not a big video game guy. Like, I don't play all the new ones that come out, and I've never played a Red Dead Redemption, all that kind of stuff. But I like old video games. They weren't always called that, The ones I played growing up were the ones I like still. And now they're retro because I am becoming retro. So I've got the old PlayStation 2 out, and I'm thinking of hooking it up to the TV and figuring out a live stream situation with it, and play the old Gran Turismos, play the old Grand Theft Autos, do that stuff and huck it on camera, we'll see. It's a memory box playing those old games, though, damn. I bring it up because I just recently, finally, for the first time in my life, beat Grand Theft Auto 3. I haven't beat number 4. Nobody ever talks about number 1 or 2. But number 3 was the first one that came out when I was a kid that was like 3D and amazing and everything. And I remember I had that game before I knew what a game was. Like, I was a little kid. And my dad would let me play it here and there and kind of do some missions, but I didn't know what was happening. You could argue it was an inappropriate game for a kid to play, but at that age, I think I was so young, I didn't even know what was happening, I just wanted to race the car around the city. But then one year for my birthday, I remember getting Vice City. Like, that came out when I was a little older. And that thing was awesome. So Vice City was the one I played the most of. And I think I've even talked about it on this podcast when I finally beat it last summer or whatever, I started playing these games again because they came out on Netflix, which still seems odd. And by the time you're watching this, it may be over. Today's the 8th, but on December 12th, Netflix is removing all the games. So I went back to play Grand Theft Auto 3 and beat it to get it before it was gone. And then I remembered I have it on a disc and a PlayStation 2 that no one can take away from me. And I can play it anytime I want. So might go back and do some more of that and stream away, We'll see. All depends on schedules and whatnot. The other interesting musical project that's kind of reared its little head the past few weeks is earlier this year I came out with an ambient album called Sanctuary. And it's this. It's essentially this guitar sound that I use for the podcast. This very ambient, pretty, full of echo, every note lasts 30 seconds. But without me blabbing and talking over the whole damn thing. So there's an album of like an hour of pretty little guitar improv that sounds like waves or synthesizers or whatever. And it's the first thing I've made in a long time that I've actually enjoyed listening to at all. Like a fair amount, like in life, So I've been listening to it in the car or whatever, and I've really kind of fallen for ambient music these past year or two. So I decided to make some, But I fell in love with Sanctuary, and I called it Sanctuary 1 when it came out, because I was pretty sure there was going to be a 2, 3, 4 at least, And my initial idea was I would just record another version of it, another guitar improv, and call it Sanctuary 2. So whether that was with a new guitar pedal or whatever, I'd follow the same thing and make some 5 or 6 minute jams, grab my favorite ones, paste them together in a way they sounded good. There's an hour-long improv. But me being me, and ideas being ideas, it's expanded a little bit. I did a couple of those ambient jams to a metronome, so at least I had some frame of reference if I wanted to orchestrate it or put in other sounds or anything. And then I did. I put a little drum machine in it, and then I put little keyboards in it, a little bass guitar and whatnot. And it's slowly become a whole different thing. So Sanctuary 2 will come out hopefully sometime next year. I'd like to do one of those projects a year, that ambient type of thing. And it's shaping up. I have anywhere between 20 and 40 minutes of it so far, depending on how I set the bar for it. And what my plan is to make an hour of it and then delete all the parts I don't like, and then fill it out to an hour again and delete the parts I don't like, and basically just keep building it into a hour-long ambient jam that has some drum beats and some little bits that come and go, and Hopefully you'll never know when it starts or ends, but it'll just kind of exist. And the drum beat gives it a little bit more grounding, or I don't know. It keeps it a little more interesting, I think, this time than it all being in the ether. In my head, sort of the Sanctuary albums might slowly become music. Like Sanctuary 1 was just that, sound the whole time. And now Sanctuary 2 sounds like there's like a dance club next door, maybe, or something. It's this with like happening underneath of it. And then maybe Sanctuary 3 will have some stuff on it, maybe a vocal here or there, and then by the time Sanctuary 1,000,000 rolls around, it'll just be songs, Who knows? I have found, though, that just jamming on it without caring at all, like the other day, the most recent one I made, I just put a 20-minute drum loop up and then faded it so it wasn't the exact same thing for 20 minutes, but it was the same tempo, And then I threw some chord charts up and followed them while I just riffed on bass. And it's a jam, man. It's not going to light up any charts. No one should, put it on at a party if they want people to pay attention. But hey, if you want people to talk to each other and not pay attention to your music and just not hear them chewing, maybe we're in business, Oh, instrumental elevator music. But I'm getting more and more excited for Sanctuary 2. There is also, I'm going to jump around the list a little bit here just because I should. I've got another album, essentially, that just kind of happened. So that may sound silly or grandiose, but what I mean by that is, I think I talked about it a little bit last time. Some friends of mine who live many, many miles away wanted to start a little live project with a, power trio kind of vibe. Less bodies, less stuff to go wrong. Let's just get up there and rock, And it sounds fun. Why not do that? But then the idea snowballed. I was like, well, why don't we write some songs? And I was like, you speaking my language, boys. So then in one weekend, I wrote them like 5 songs. And one day I wrote 3. And then by the time the week was over, I had 9. And they sent me 2. So it's not like it's all me. But collectively, there's an album of material at least. So it needs to be recorded. It's all just demos right now, but it's at least stuff that we can all be listening to and learning and rewriting our lyrics and coming up and working on, So some of those songs, I actually just heard a couple of them back for the first time in a couple of weeks last night. And there's some good songs, man. There's like a ripping opening rocker. There's a ballad that is really pretty that, honestly, the way that I wrote them is so interesting that, like, I've done it all on camera for the past year. I mean, the Song in a Day live stream started as just something to do because I was doing those Song in a Day challenges for myself, essentially. And I was like, well, why not run the camera? But then I just started only writing like that. Like in 2023, maybe, in 2024, I wrote as many songs as you can count on camera there, but maybe 3 songs off of camera. Like, I didn't write a lot. Well, no, I guess no. Until this album of material crept out of my brain, I was at like 3. But then, yeah, come the end of November, beginning of December here, it just kind of, and a bunch of songs came out. And I do think there's a way to turn some of the Sanctuary material into songs if I wanted to also. So, I don't know, man. The Sanctuary material, the best way I can describe it is it kind of, there's a few sections where I put a little bit of dialogue, like some old stuff from a movie or whatever, and it may be the way I diagnose myself with ADHD, because what I've done in those moments with the dialogue is I've tried to make it sound or feel or whatever the way I do when you're talking about something I don't care about. And that's that in my head, all I hear is like, like, I'm not listening to you if I don't want to, right? So that's sort of the moment in the song or in the project when you hear the vocals. It's supposed to be like, yeah, there's people going around, but like you just stay boom, 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 off in your ether, and it'll be fine. I found a clip from an old silent movie that I put in, And I love the happenstance of it. Like, you just Google silent movie, and then you start recording the dialogue. And you record it along with the thing you've jammed on so far. And then inevitably, Wizard of Oz, Pink Floyd style, something syncs up. Something is cool. Something is said right after a drum hit or something, And it's like, oh, that was neat. So then you just go back and delete everything that wasn't neat. And suddenly you have these 10-minute, 5-minute, 20-minute jingle, jangle, whatever things that in a way it feels like I didn't even make. Like nobody else did, so I know I did. But the guitar is all buried in echo. The piano I've done some AI tricks with, and the drum machine I program without listening to it, and then it's kind of like I hear it for the first time as I'm jamming with it, and then when I hear it back after I've mixed it, it's the first time again. Like it's an interesting way to create while feeling super disconnected from the thing you're creating. And I think it's helping me stay creative. Because often, I don't know how many people watch this, and out of those people, how many of them create or anything. But sometimes when I'm working on material that's, like Black Tie Affair, the album that came out, or Outlier, the one I'm working on, when there's songs, when they're direct, when you're singing, when there's sort of nothing you're hiding behind, and in fact, you're using all of the effects to enforce yourself in a way and make the statement louder or more of what it is. By the time you sing on it or listening back to it, you're just like, yep, that's a lot of me or something. Like you can just get overwhelmed by the sheer rawness of the fact that it's all you. At least I find it's something that can happen to me. But like I said, with the ambient bippity bops, it's not somebody else, but it doesn't always sound like me. So I can listen to it without too much shite for myself. So that's pretty cool. I'm enjoying that, and I just can't help but think that if you make stuff that you enjoy, there's a much higher chance of other people enjoying it, right? That's always the dream. But I have been jumping all over this list and not ticking anything off. So I got to take a second here. We did the live stream thing. We talked about being late for things, beating Grand Theft Auto 3, and I only cried once. I say that because when I beat Grand Theft Auto Vice City, I cried multiple times because I played that at my dad's house before he passed away. Grand Theft Auto 3 may have been the same house and everything, but I was so young that I only had one memory that was emotionally tied to it, which was because I was so young, I wasn't very good at it. So you can't unlock many islands or anything, right? Like when you play Grand Theft Auto, you have to unlock the map. So I never got far enough in the game to unlock the final island. But I do remember one time my dad let me play on his account, and I went to that island to explore. So when I was playing the Grand Theft Auto version and I finally achieved that barrier, repressed emotional waterworks, man. Being a kid full of trauma, that just catches you at any moment you're not expecting sometimes. But hey, it was powerful, and that's the point, right? I went in to play those games for memories, and I got a bunch of them, so that's cool. Going back to Outlier here, I have made progress on it finally. That's another reason why we've been gone a little bit. I've been singing my way through it. So I've got almost half of the vocals. I'm looking at the chart now. There's 4 or 5 songs left and 4 or 5 done, Yeah, 5 songs left to do and as many done. So halfway done vocals, and knock on wood, they're going to be done soon because I've planned it out well. But like I said, singing is just a mother of a time. Like, it's not even necessarily that it's the most difficult part, just out of difficulty. A hard guitar solo or a really hard bass part can be just as difficult to pull off. But it's just so raw to sing, man. And like I mentioned earlier, the room has to be silent. You can't watch a movie and record guitars. You can watch a movie and record guitars. You can't listen to a movie and record vocals. It don't work like that. Another thing, we're firing through the list here like crazy. I started working on Fiverr, which is a website that I thought everybody knew about, but it turns out not, because I've been educating many people on it. It's an online marketplace where you can do anything. And not like OnlyFans, where anything means anything. I mean anything respectable. Like you can do skills and talents and services of value. So like I can play guitar or bass, or people can do graphic design or photography editing, or pretty much anything online that is not a booked in-person service for the most part. You could do guitar lessons, vocal lessons, anything you like through their marketplace. So I set up an ad on there to start doing guitar solos, because hey, I know how to do that at least, right? As he does it with the volume off. The fast stuff sounds terrible with all the echo anyways. But I got an order, it came through, I shot the video, it was fun and dandy. Fine and dandy. And I recognized the name on it. And I didn't really think much of it, because you never know on the internet, people have the same names sometimes. And then a couple days go by, and I get a notification on Instagram, and it's the person I thought it was. I did a collab with Steve Terberry from YouTube. So he's got 5 million subscribers, and I have less than 1,000, so that's cool. But yeah, like, what are the odds of that? If you're not on Fiverr and you're a creative of any kind, I can't suggest it enough. It cost me nothing to make a profile, make an ad and everything. And I made $50 or $80 or whatever it was by the time the dust settled. And I played a guitar solo. Nothing wrong with that. And who knows, being on that ad with... Oh, sorry, it wasn't only a collab with Steve Terberry, it was also an ad for Fiverr Music. So it got posted all over the place, and the last I saw it had like 40 or 50,000 views. So that is tied, I believe, for the high score of viral-ish views I've pulled off. The other highest scoring one I think I've done ever was on Facebook. I did an ad for a Chrysler store one time that was a parody of Bohemian Rhapsody. You should look it up if you are so inclined. They own it, and I mean, they're super nice. I'm sure I could download it and post it and nobody would mind, but I made it for them, so they deserve all the clicks for it still. They paid me. Go look it up. Look up Abbotsford Chrysler Queen or Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever, something like that. And you'll find me singing the opening of Bohemian Rhapsody with all the lyrics about minivans and shit. And it was hilarious because after I left that job, I got a call months later from one of the people who had assumed my position, which happens, you know? And these calls can happen when you do social media stuff too, because sometimes they're like, hey, we forgot the password for this weird thing. Do you have it? So, of course, you know, I'm never against getting that phone call, and you're there to help the company still if you leave on good terms. So I do all that, and then I get another call that's like, hey, how did you make those things? I was like, what the fuck do you mean, how did I make, like, he's like, how did you do the sound for Bohemian Rhapsody? I'm like, I locked myself in a room for 7 hours with a microphone and sang every part. That's how I did it. And the same goes for all of the parody videos. Not all of them were as intensive as Bohemian Rhapsody, but I didn't use AI. It didn't exist. I was the intelligence, and my voice is the one you're hearing. So if you'd like to do parody songs, you can do them. All you have to do is do it. It's easy. But then everybody got fired or quit. I think that was in that weird department headed by what was the guy? He was a painter or a graphic artist that didn't know how to make graphic art and quit to go do crypto. Shout out to you, man. Way to bail, if you catch my drift. I won't out his name, but there's a big hint. That guy sucked. Anyways, that was a sidetrack I shouldn't have talked about. Good old Chrysler. Everybody I worked with was great. Everybody at corporate was not, is the way I'm going to put it. The other thing, okay, let's talk about the bands I've been playing in, because there was Journey, Foreigner, Scorpions, Def Leppard, all these tribute acts. And another one, as I've thrown itself in the mix, there will now be a show of David Bowie material, and the Foreigner section is no longer a thing. So that was going to go and coincide with the Journey performance, but there's enough Journey songs and whatnot that we're like, let's just play Journey songs that night. It'll be fine. So that's the plan, and I can't announce the dates just yet, but every band is booked for next year already. So coming in kind of February, March, April time, there'll be some shows, and then come January, I'll probably be posting some promos and whatnot. I think of the whopping 50 or 60 viewers I usually have on the podcast and 5 people that comment, none of you are in British Columbia. So if you are, hey, come on out. This is me promoting this to you. But the people from Japan and Mexico, don't get on a plane. It would be a little silly, I think, you know? But I am excited to play those songs. We just did another rehearsal for Journey yesterday, and all the vocals are starting to come together because we're all singing our bits and whatnot. And there's a really funny, slightly tense moment between two of the singers where one of them was like, here's your harmony. And the other guy was like, okay, sure. And then that guy was like, no, never mind. You can't sing that. You're not going to be able to sing that note. And the dude was like, no, just tell me the note and I'll sing it. And he's like, no, it's too high. You can't sing higher than me. And then they were like, okay, just like tell him the note. And then it was a high whatever. And then the guy was like, ah! And then we played it and everybody sang their parts and everything was fine. And the person who was griping didn't mention it, that it was all good after that. So sometimes in bands there are personalities that you have to massage and work around. That's just always the case. And I have come to learn that my most valuable asset as a guitar player is my volume. And by that, I mean I'm quieter than every other guitar player that I work with or audition with. And while the other guitar players in the audience may be like, what the fuck? Everybody else in the crowd is like, hey, I can hear. It's not a war. Just saying. Keep it down, boys. It works. And actually, funny enough, at the last rehearsal, my monitor was blown too. So I was in the dark. I was just standing in the corner playing my stuff, and everybody was closer to the speakers than I was, like to my speakers kind of thing. So they could hear me and I couldn't, basically is how it was going. So apparently I still did fine, but I heard the recording back because we recorded pieces of it, and I was like, oh, cool, I was playing the right notes. I really didn't know. Like, it was like being in an ISO box, but that's what you practice for, is I've found if I rehearse at home with everything perfect always, and then I go on stage and I can't hear the bass guitar, I'm like, oh, fuck! But if I rehearse at home just by playing all the songs in a dark room, or like, you know, like without any cues or anything, then you get up there and you just walk around and play the songs like it's fine, and you keep time with the drummer, and you're good. You don't even need a monitor, you know, for the most part, if you try to play confident and know what's going down. But yeah, we're moving through here. What else is going on? We're almost at the half hour mark. And I think a half hour might be the money point for season 2 of the podcast. I do have something else I wanted to complain about. And I'm not sure exactly how I want to complain about it, because it might be a first world problem. And it might not even be a problem. But I have grown to have an issue with school zones. And I'll explain why. The concept is become foreign to me and here's why. School zones are the only area I've come to find where I have to know what other people are doing at all. Really. Like, if there's a Pro D day, I can go 50. If it's not a Pro D day, I can go 30. If the teachers are there, I can go 50. But if the kids are there, I can go 30. And if it's in the summer, I can go 50. And if it's on a weekend, I can go 50. But Mondays until 5 o'clock, most Mondays, I can only, like, what the fuck is happening? Why, like, a park zone, just for those that are maybe have a different system in their country or whatever, we have two different kinds of speed zones. We have park zones and school zones. A park zone means, hey, this is a park. People could be playing here. Slow down. You know, do 30 in a 50 zone, kilometers per hour. And you do it while the sun is up. If it's light outside, slow down. There could be people in the park. Makes perfect sense to me. Animals, cats, dogs, whatever. It's a park, you know? Slow down. School zones are only for elementary and middle schools. They are not for secondary or high schools out here, even though some people think they are. They're not. This adds to the confusion. And they are until 5 o'clock, only on school days, but nobody knows when that is. And to top it all off, the thing that gets me is in the park is a park. In the school, there are children learning. Why don't you just teach them to stay out of the fucking road? Like, why is lesson 1, look over there where the cars are? Don't go there. There's big fences. There's big, like, the best I can think of is the school zone is telling you to slow down and watch out for, like, flying balls or things the kids might throw at you. But again, tell the kids to not be shit. If anything, it's just advertising in the US where to take your gun. And in Canada, I feel like you could travel to a province you don't know and find out where the kids are. Like, I don't understand. The concept is foreign to me. Maybe it's just because I don't have kids, but even some of my friends with kids, the ones I care about deeply, I'm like, they know to stay out of the street. Or, crazy concept, the rest of the world has streets that they exist in and nobody cares. I don't know. This has been my not that funny rant on school zones. Maybe I'll have a kid and he'll get hit by a car and I'll cry my whole eyes out. And I'll be like, oh, the world should be a school zone. But until then, I think the world should be the world. Schools should be schools. This has been a half hour. That was a weird ending. And I didn't even get to number 10 on the podcast. But hey, that's what next week is for. And maybe I'll actually do a next week thing. We won't be every 2 weeks. We won't be every month. We won't be twice a year. To do a successful podcast, step one is do it. So I will see you guys next week. I've been Rick Chappell. You've been here. Leave a comment. Do those things. I used to read them. Maybe I'll do it again. I mean on camera. I still read them. Thank you. See ya.